Happy Sabbath, everybody. I want to welcome you all to our morning study. I've stepped in at the last moment. I think the rostered speaker was not feeling well, so I volunteered to take their place. Let's open with a word of prayer. Dear God, we thank you for your continued watch care over your people as we come together on this holy Sabbath day to honor and glorify you. I pray that you would guide, direct, and bless us. Help us to have a better and clearer understanding of who we are, the work that we have to do, and what is happening, not only on this planet, but throughout the universe in relationship to the great controversy. We pray these requests and for a blessing from you today. In Jesus' name, amen. I want to welcome everybody. Today, I wanted to have I guess I've called it an interactive discussion about one of the 10 risks that I think you've been going through in your group studies. So it's one that's already been discussed. And I thought we would look at this one because most of you would have a working knowledge or understanding of this topic. So it's risk number 3, if you're all familiar with that. And it's about the war in Ukraine. It's called Part 3, Petitioned Ukraine. So I don't know if everybody puts their video on or how I know that you want to speak, or do I just ask people to volunteer? Or do I just see that you've unmuted yourselves? Okay. So I've been told you just chip in. So if that's the case, please chip in when you want to. So I want to begin with asking a question. These series of articles, these 11 PDFs that have been sent out, and a similar series was sent out at the beginning of last year. They're put out by a group called Eurasia. I think we all know that. Can someone tell me who the Eurasia group is? So I guess we're all going to get onto our computers and do some Google searching through this study, because we might not know the answer to some of these points unless you've already looked at it. So can someone tell me who the Eurasia group are?
From my recollections, Elder Parminder, they are like a geopolitical consultancy firm. So companies will sort of contract or subcontract them to give advice on maybe a project they have, and Eurasia looks at the geopolitical situation and how it relates, and then gives them advice.
So it's a geopolitical organization, company. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. When people respond, if they could just tell me their names, because sometimes I can't either see who's done that, and I'm not familiar with people's voices. So I know that was Ray. So this is a company that was set up in 1998. I guess you're all probably on their webpage by now. And the purpose is, can you remind us, Ray, what you said the purpose of this company is?
So they're a consultancy company. They'll give advice. Say, like, I have a company, I want to go do something I have a project I want to start in Indonesia. I'll contract them to give me advice on the geopolitical situation and things I need to understand to get my project running in Indonesia.
Okay, so does anybody else want to give a comment of the purpose of this company? What does it exist to do?
It's to help
Assess risk.
investors.
Sorry, who was that? I didn't catch whose name that is, sorry. I heard a female voice. There was a female voice first. Who was that?
Okay, it's to help investors and business decision makers and understand the impact of politics on risks and opportunities in foreign markets.
Are you reading it or paraphrasing?
Reading.
Yeah, if we all paraphrase as opposed to just reading what's on a web page, so that we can explain in a simpler way to the rest of us who aren't reading. I'm not sure who I'm speaking with.
Mereoni.
Oh, you've changed voices. There was a woman a minute ago, and now they're a lot deeper. Okay, so Brendan, you said something?
Yeah, I was just going to say it assesses risk to see whether the project is worth it or not.
Okay, assesses risk. Moroni, could you just summarize what the purpose of this company is?
Sorry, is it me?
Yes, you read
Okay.
out something from their webpage. I asked you to just give a paraphrase in your own words what the purpose of this company is.
It is to analyze political risk and consulting.
Okay, Terry?
To predict what's going to happen in politically and financially.
Can everybody hear Terry or not? Tell me if you can't hear what she said, so I won't repeat it. I think you should be able to pick it. You can't?
To predict.
So it's to predict. The company's purpose is to predict. Predict what?
Financial, political situations that will happen in other countries and governments.
So financial and political situations that are happening across the world. So where is this company set up? A Chinese company, a British company, a German company?
Yeah, it's American, I think. That's Catherine.
Okay, Catherine's an American company. Brody?
They've got locations around the world, so our former Prime Minister joined the Australian arm.
So can everybody hear that? No. Maybe if you speak a bit louder so I don't have to repeat it. Yeah?
I think it was Malcolm Turnbull that joined the Australian arm of the Eurasia Group, so former Prime Minister. Oh, yeah, so they're around the world, their locations, but perhaps they're based in the US.
Okay. So they call themselves a geopolitical company or organization. So do we all understand what geopolitics is? Catherine, give us just a working model of what the term geopolitics means.
Well, geo sounds like it's got to do with the whole world, like geography or something. So I'm thinking it's politics across the world.
Okay, so we'll go with that. We'll go with there are organizations that set up to understand and share the different politics across the world. So they began, as we said, in 1998. They're an American firm. They started in New York. And as time has gone on, they've got offices through various continents all around the world. And they claim now that they are the leading company that understands what's going on all around the world. They have their fingers in many pies all across the world, and they have local offices in various countries. So we spoke about companies having projects, and they go to Eurasia and they ask them, we want to do something in Uzbekistan, and we don't know what the climate is, the political climate in Uzbekistan. So they're going to go to the Eurasia Group and ask them to give them a report so they know how to, so they don't make any mistakes when they do some project. Is everybody okay with that sort of definition?
Yes, but can I say that apparently at least two the members in the admin section, they should know at least 2 or 3 languages, and they deal with the language barriers and cross culture. I just saw that and then.
Yes. So if they're dealing in various parts of the world and they're going to interact with either government agencies or private organizations in those various countries, you'd expect them to know the local customs, the local language. Is that a summary of what you've said, Josephine?
Exactly, thank you.
Good. So we've spoken about projects, but the other thing that they claim to be specialists in or consultants for is not only businesses, but they're also financial institutes or financial institutions. So this whole company, when we talk about geopolitics, is really about helping companies, whatever their business, whether it's financial or infrastructure or materials, whatever the business is, or even commodities, to make more money. That's their whole purpose, is just to help these companies make more money. Does anybody want to have a comment on that?
For me, it's Catherine here, it is something that's really important to keep in mind when we're reading these articles, I think, because that's the angle that they're coming at. They're not here to tell us what God's kingdom should look like. That's not their purpose, but they do have good insight and are valuable. But I think keeping in mind that that's their drive, could affect perhaps the angle that they're coming from, the way they approach things, for me.
Good. Anyone else got a comment on that? To understand the perspective that they're coming from, which is all about money, is totally different to the perspective that we are approaching. If I just say this subject, geopolitics, would we describe ourselves as interested in geopolitics or something else? How would we describe? Terry, how would you describe what our organization is interested in? Geopolitics or something else? Without saying the kingdom of heaven, which is, I think, kind of what Catherine was saying.
Yes, because we're interested in the rise and fall of nations.
So did everybody hear that? Did anybody not hear that? Okay, so I'm going to assume that when Terry and Brody raise their voices high enough, you can all hear, so I'm not going to repeat it. So Terry has said, yes, our actual interests align closely because this movement is interested in geopolitics, and she's used an inspired phrase that speaks about the rise and fall of nations. So we could go to Daniel 2 and the feet and the 10 toes, iron and clay, and it speaks about those kings. We could go to Revelation 17. The kings are doing a dance with that beast there. In fact, they are the beast. And they're upholding that woman who rides their back. All of that in secular terms is geopolitics. Does anybody have a comment on that? No? Okay, that's good. So if you look at the 10 subjects that they bring for this year, they're very similar to the ones that were discussed last year. Does everybody knows what a red herring is, I presume? It's a false flag. It's something that really isn't an issue, but many people believe that it is an issue. So everybody's okay with risk number 11. It's basically saying, don't worry about those things. They're not really of interest.
This year,
This year.
But potentially next year.
But potentially next year, in the future, they could well be. Okay, so if you look at those 9 options, because the number 1 is an introduction. No, it's 10, sorry, because the introduction was 0. It speaks about the United States, the Middle East, what's happening in Europe, technology, AI, China, and then it goes on. So some of these issues are about commodities or materials. Some of them are about climate, and some of them are about countries, and others are about certain types of businesses. Does anybody want to make a comment on that? So is there anything that they are interested in that we are not interested in, or vice versa? Are the subjects that we're interested in that wouldn't be part of their remit, their existence, the purpose that they were created for? Are we fully aligned with them, or do we have differences? We've already spoken about our perspective, the reason why we are interested and the reason why they're interested. They're interested in making money, and we're not, because we won't make any money about whatever's happening in the world. Graham, would you like to give a comment on my question, please? So my question is, do we completely align with them, or do we have any differences?
I think we have differences. I don't think we're completely aligned.
Okay. I went through the list of 10 items. Can you just remind us some of the points that I brought up, what they analyze? So for what I mean by that is, one of them was climate change. Go through what you see they're interested in.
Sorry, where did you find the list of the 10 so that I can
They're on the
recall them?
media broadcast, but they may be
Oh.
in other places too. I think it was sometime in January or February. I'm going to, yeah, 12th of January, 20th. Look between the 12th and 20th of January. If someone else wants to pitch in, go ahead. We can brainstorm together.
You mentioned climate was one.
Okay. Climate. So they're interested in climate change. We'll say them. and us. So they're interested in climate change, and are we? Catherine?
Yes.
Okay, someone else.
The war between America and itself.
Okay, so I'm just going to call it the USA. So they're interested in what's happening in the United States. Are we interested, Graham?
Yes,
Why are we interested, Graham? Why do we care what's happening in the United States?
because of the changes that they'll make that will affect the people within the United States and around the world.
Why don't you care about Uzbekistan or Cambodia? As
We
a
do, but
priest.
we focus more on America because of their sphere of influence, because of the flow-on effect will be far greater in that particular country.
So we only do it because they're a bigger country. Yeah, if I summarize what you said
Yes.
clearly?
Yep.
Okay.
That's one that's
Okay. So another one.
The coming together of North Korea and Iran with Russia. This is Yambaki.
Which article is that when you've just said?
I think it's the fifth risk.
Okay, so without going into the specific countries, can you tell me what a theme when it talks about number 5? You mentioned North Korea, Russia, and another country. I've forgotten the third one you mentioned.
Iran.
Iran. So without listing those specific countries, tell me what it is that they're interested in.
How they gang up together in fighting against USA, but particularly Ukraine. So the rogue, that's the word being used in the article.
What does the term rogue mean in the context of Eurasia's geopolitical worldview? Why are they called rogues?
How they violate international laws.
Okay, we'll go with that one. International law or norms. So they're interested in that. Are we interested in that?
Yes.
Why?
Because it'll have an effect to the whole world, economically, financially, politically.
Okay, so they're not rogues because they're anti-American, because all the 3 countries that you mentioned are all anti-American. Is that why they're rogues?
I guess so.
Okay, so it's not about international laws or norms then. It's if you're anti-American, you're a rogue. That was the question to you. Are you there or are you thinking? I don't know if I lost you.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Let me help you along. If you're going to call everybody who's anti-American a rogue, then what do you call everybody who is American?
So I'm looking
What's
at
the
this definition of word rogue. So
Tell me,
it means
just tell me what the opposite of rogue is. Tell me what the opposite of rogue is.
honest.
Okay, rogue is
Um,
bad, and the opposite of rogue is good. So
Good.
everyone
Yes.
so all Americans are good. People who love America are good, and everybody who's against America is a rogue or a bad person or a bad country. I don't think you believe that, do you?
No. No.
Okay, so this rogue is not really about America, even though it appears to be.
Yes.
We'll go with your definition when you said actors who violate or go against international laws or international norms. Another one. What else is EuroAsia interested in?
Ungoverned AI.
Okay, so
That's
let's
Brendan.
call this. Who was that, by the way?
Brendan.
Brendan. So I don't want to call it AI. I don't want to put AI there. I want to make it more general.
Information war or information.
We can't call it war.
Oh, it's information.
Okay, so this company is interested in information. So I'm going to call it the latest development, because they're not
Yeah.
interested in books, are they? Books is
No.
information. The latest developments in information. So we know they're interested in that. Are we interested in that?
Yes, we are.
Okay, someone else. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4.
Middle East on the brink. It's Marie speaking.
So it's not the brink. We'll just call it the Middle East. So they're interested in the Middle East. I guess that's the middle of whatever's on the east. So they're interested. Are we interested in the Middle East?
Yes.
Anything else?
You mean about the Middle East or you mean another one?
Another subject. Anybody with another subject?
Global inflation.
Inflation. Where do you see that? Which number?
Number 8.
Number 8. No room for error. And who is this? Who am I speaking to?
Josephine.
Josephine. So I'm going to call it the economy. Are you okay to put economy?
Oh, good.
Is that how you spell economy? Are you interested in the economy or this movement? You, not individually?
But we got to survive.
No, I don't mean that's what I'm saying, not you individually. You have to survive, but I'm saying is this movement interested in the economy? Because economy is money.
Well, you got to have money to run
Just
the...
yes or no. So tell me, what
yes.
is this movement interested in economy? Yes?
Yes.
So
Not
this is
the
not
effect
about
that
your
they do.
personal finances. This is about the movement's objective, the movement's reason for existing.
No.
So no. So you're saying we're not interested in the economy. Anyone else? Any other issues?
No China government.
China. So they're definitely interested in China. Are we interested in China, Brody? Yes. Okay, we're going to go with those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can't remember who said that our interests, oh, Graham said that. Graham, you said our interests don't fully align with theirs. So I don't know if you agree with the economy as being an example where we don't line up, but could you give me something where we don't align with Eurasia? Because at the moment, it looks like we're in full alignment with them. Can you give me an example where we're not, Graham?
I believe that you can use economy and say that we are interested in economy as a movement. That's my personal belief.
Sure. Okay. So I didn't go break these down, but you're saying you actually disagree with, was that Josephine? You disagree with Josephine. So I'm going to not use that one as an example. So give me another one where we're not aligned with Eurasia.
I don't have any. I wanted to see a difference because of our principle of why we're here.
So you
they're
never
driven
actually
by.
believed that we were different. You just want to believe that we're different.
I wanted
Is
to
that-
see something different because we're not driven by money. Yes, you're correct.
Okay. And you wanted Brody to show us that, or Lynn to show you that, or you just wanted to believe it?
I was hoping someone would dig me out of the hole, but they did not.
Okay. So, Brendan, why was no one able to dig Graham out of a hole? Are you there, Brendan? Oh, yes.
Yes. I guess we methodically went through each one on the surface, and yeah, there was none that appeared to.
No,
we were all
that's not-
interested in the same thing.
That's not the answer to the question. The question is, Graham said there must be. We exist for a different purpose, so there has to be some difference between us. And he was just hoping one of you would tell him one, because he doesn't want to believe we're identical. So why was he mistaken?
Because this movement is very interested in external events. Marie.
So because the movement is interested in external events, and so is Eurasia. That's your answer?
Well, I probably wasn't strong enough. It's vital for this movement
That's fine.
to know
You
what
can
external movements are. So
put
that's why Graham,
Yeah,
I
but
believe.
let me stop you. Let me stop you for a
Yeah.
minute. You can use whatever word, essential, vital, necessary, but I want to know conceptually why.
Because it's prophetic for this movement to understand external events.
All of what we've just written here, Eurasia is not a prophetic organization. They don't care about prophecy. They care about making money for themselves and their clients.
Yes, I agree with that.
So tell me why we're in alignment with somebody who believes in a worldview or an ethos that we reject.
Because what affects them economically affects us prophetically.
Okay, because what affects not them, what affects the world or their clients economically affects us prophetically. I'll go with that. Brendan,
Yes.
did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just listening. What Marie said sounds good.
Okay, so tell me what she said, because we were talking and then Marie jumped in, and so I didn't let you finish your point.
Oh no, I was just more listening, but there's our interests are prophetic, and I guess that company looks at they analyze, they use data, they don't appear to use conspiracy theories, so therefore they would draw the conclusions quite accurately, and as a result we're tracing through history and prophecy, and it's aligning up. I I think their clients would be a bit disappointed if they started using conspiracy theories and false data.
Okay, so I've put equivalent. They're not really equivalent, but I've got data. I've got they're interested in the economy, about money, and we're interested in prophecy. Anything else? Anybody?
Can I add a nail in my coffin?
Yes?
Just the statement that we use all the time, the personal is political.
And what does that mean in this context?
I think it's showing the relationship between the political climates around the world and how that impacts individuals.
Great. We missed one because I said we're doing number 3. No one gave me number 3. Unless I missed it. And it's here. Who wants to volunteer what number 3 is? We put on our list.
Petition to
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Okay, so the answer is not Ukraine. They don't care about Ukraine. Ukraine could go down the tube and they would go to Poland. They say, don't put your money in Ukraine, put your money in Poland. So it's not, the answer can't be Ukraine. Because Ukraine doesn't factor in like the USA. Ukraine doesn't factor in like China. So I'd like a different answer than Ukraine.
The threat of Russia.
Sorry? We'll go with Brendan. I didn't hear what you said.
The threat of Russia.
Okay, so you want to put Russia there?
Yes, please.
Okay. Anyone else? Ray?
I had something to add.
Oh, who's that?
It's Lynn.
Okay. Lynn, you're muted and you're talking.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. It's clever, isn't it? I'm actually in Wordy Bullock, so we're signed in on two.
I was only teasing you.
Anyway, so
Brendan says Russia, and you're saying
global conflict. They're interested in global conflict, war, basically in general, and how that impacts economic factors.
Okay, but this isn't a global war. This is something that's happening in Ukraine. And
okay, righto.
So
I was relating it to
something a bit more specific, because there'll be wars and rumors of war everywhere. We could go into a lot of this and talk about war.
Sure. So I'd have to agree with Brendan then, Russia.
Okay, just Russia. So tell me who's got the biggest economy. You'll probably get the because it's a trick question. Italy or Russia? Who's got the biggest economy? The bigger economy? Russia or Italy?
Russia.
Who said that?
Marie.
Marie. So it was a trick question. Terry?
I thought it was the same.
So Terry says it's about the same. We'll go with about the same. So Marie, if you were to compare Italy, I don't know what you know about Italy, so any of the other major European countries, where would you rank Italy? Top, middle, or bottom?
For the economy?
Economy, yes.
I'd say bottom.
Bottom. So if we're going to say Italy's at the bottom, and we'll go with Terry's response, which is an accurate one, that Russia and Italy, depending from year to year, it varies, but they're about the same. So Russia is not a significant economic country. It ranks really low in, if you say, who's the richest country, who has the most economic influence, all of those metrics, it comes really low. So Brendan, why do you want to put Russia here for? If Russia is just like a too big country?
Because it has oversized influence?
What causes its oversized influence? Someone else. Why is it so influential?
Because it's got nuclear weapons.
Because of its military, yes. It's overly influential because of its military, not because it's run by a dictator. But North Korea doesn't control the world in the way that Russia does or manipulates it. And it's run by a rogue as much as Russia is, if we're going to use their terminology. So it's not that it's run by a rogue, it's just because its military is oversized. Are we okay with that? Yep, I'm going to take that as a yes. I'm not going to put Russia here, if you don't mind. I'm going to put Europe. I'll put Russia in brackets. So we know they're interested. Are we interested in Europe and Russia?
Elder
Yes.
Parminder, I just looked up, and Italy is 9th in the economy and Russia is 13th. And I think we'd be interested in the USSR because it's the king of the South.
Okay, so Terry had said they're about the same, and you're saying actually it's even lower than Italy, at least currently, and you're saying we are interested in Russia and Europe. We're all on the same page. So climate, can someone tell me why we're interested in the climate? Why do we care what's going to happen in the climate? Why are we interested in that? You should know because I think you did a recent study on it, or Brody did one with the group. So why is this movement interested in climate change?
Because of equality. Equality.
Tell me the connection about equality and climate change, briefly.
I wasn't part of that study, so I just have to say what I assume, which is that it affects the lower class, it affects the poor, and it affects women more than other people.
It affects women more than other people.
It affects, yeah, and it affects the poor and the third world countries.
So I've got poor, and it affects women. So it affects women more than children?
No, it affects the
more than
women
other
and the
people.
children.
So you'll put women and children together.
It affects the poor countries, the third world countries, more than the other countries.
I put poor.
Oh, okay.
And I put women.
Okay. And children would go with the women.
And children.
Mm.
And you're saying all of this is to do with equality? Yes?
Yeah, yes.
Anyone else? I take it we all agree with that? Nobody wants to add anything? So USA, why are we interested in the USA? Terry, why are we interested in the USA? Because no one knows. Oh, they don't care.
Revelation 13.
We'll go with prophecy. And we were given Revelation 13. Terry could have gone to many places, but she went to Revelation 13. It's the, I guess, the go-to verse or chapter that we would look at. Saw a second beast rise up out of the earth. That's why we're interested in the USA. It's not because they're big, not because they're the best. And even the term glorious land can be understood in various ways from Daniel 11. But they're a subject of Bible prophecy. That's why we're interested in them. International laws and norms. Why are we interested in those?
Sunday law.
I need a bit more than just the Sunday law. I'm not sure what that would mean. 1 second, Marie. Brody? I'll give you a bit louder.
International laws, norms and institutions generally promote equality. So they are undermining institutions. I know that there's economic component to that, but undermining things that are either working to promote or establish equality.
So we're here. Where was the rogues? This is the rogues, yes? That's what I thought it was. So international laws and norms, we're interested in it because they promote equality. And we could say the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as an example of that. So anybody want to comment on that? So this international law and norms, and it says it promotes equality. Can someone give me a year when we began to be interested in that subject, promoting equality? Give me a year where we said we want to get really laser focused on this subject about promoting equality. This is an example of that. It's not the date when it comes to international laws and norms. Someone offer me a date when we became interested in this subject. This one here. These rogues, we'll call them the rogues.
2015.
Who's speaking?
Yambaki.
And the year 2015, you said?
Yes.
Anyone else? Greg, give me a date.
I was thinking 2019.
19. Catherine.
Do you want us to just be our movement? Or
However
earlier than
you
that?
understand my question.
Oh, okay. Well, I could say 1888 or 1989 if you.
Which one do you want to go for?
Oh, do 1888. No, let's do 1989 because I just want to talk about our movement.
Rachel? Are you with us, Rachel?
Oh, Chris is putting on my computer. Is it 2021?
Who's that? Oh, Rachel, are you at Wordy Bullock?
Yeah, I'm at Wordy Bullock, sorry.
Okay, give me a year.
I was going to say 2015, but 2021.
2021. We'll go with that, 4. So, anybody want to add one? I'm going to go with 2014. That was from Terry. I'm going to go with 1888. Okay, so Terry said, I've tricked you by saying this movement, and I wanted to know how we would view that. So if I had said another term, okay, if I'm going to say 7-day Adventism, your answer would have been 1888. So even if we go back to 1989 or 1888, it's earlier than all of these dates. And I guess these dates, I don't know who said 2015. I don't know what they picked up in 15 with respect to this movement's understanding or belief in promoting equality. Don't know what, so I'm not going to ask everybody what they were tagging in these various dates, because we've got a 14 and a 15. But this idea of promoting equality has been something that God's people have understood from the very beginning of their existence, if I can say that. We've made many mistakes. We, as Adventists, even perhaps in our movement, we've made many mistakes. But a classic understanding of the Sunday law, especially as spoken by Jones at those Senate hearings by Blair, are all related to the subject of equality. And all we've done is become more focused, not as a to prioritize equality, but we've become more focused on the breadth and depth of what equality is really about. Does anybody want to make a comment on that one? Brodie.
Up until the recent years, the UN was evil.
So this is what we believe? So up until recently, we used to think that the UN and the EU were evil organizations. So that means we didn't really believe in that Declaration of Human Rights. Okay. And why do we believe they were evil, Brodie?
Because prophetically we had an incorrect understanding of their role in prophecy.
Did everybody hear that? Anybody not hear that?
No, we can't hear the last couple of things that Brodie said.
Here.
Okay.
So we had an incorrect understanding of the UN's role in Bible prophecy.
Brodie, where do you see the UN in Bible prophecy?
So are you asking me to go to Revelation?
Either an image or a chapter, either way.
As representative of the kings coming together at the end of the world. So the 10 toes and yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if everybody heard that. Back in the
Sorry,
oh,
and one world government. And our fear of a one world government.
so back in the day, when we used to look at international law and norms, we used to look at it through the lens of Daniel and Revelation, and depending on what story we're talking about, it's the rulers of the earth. In the Bible, it talks about the kings of the earth all coming together. And when they all come together, why are they all coming together? Let's anybody want to give a quick answer? Why are they coming together? Who's gathering the kings? Who's
Islam.
that? Islam. So Antonio said Islam.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest no. There is another story that brings the kings together with respect to Islam, but not this one. Anyone else? Molly.
America.
So we could say that America brings the kings together. Anyone else? Terry, quick answer.
Sunday law.
Papacy.
So we've had the Sunday law. We have America. Brendan.
Well, I guess we used to think the papacy.
Papacy. So I'm going to go with the papacy. So Daniel 2, it's the iron. Revelation 17, it's the woman that rides the beast being the kings. So these, did anybody else say something? I think there were
Is it the
Josephine?
whore, Revelation 17? Well, same as Brendan, just a different word. The whore of Revelation 17.
Yes, yes. So I've just said the woman there. So
Yeah.
we're okay. So we used to believe that the papacy, or this religious entity, and it's not just a papacy, because we have spiritualism, Catholicism, and apostate Protestantism. All these religious entities are going to bring these kings together and to control them to do their will, if we're okay with that. And the fact they're all coming together is where we get this idea of a one world government. And if they're all coming under the duress of these religious entities, or religious entity, singular or plural, however you view it, we would view that organization as being bad. And in today's language, Brody said that it would be the UN, and we'd go with the EU as well. There are other regional entities that get together, but we'll go with those ones. And therefore, we would look to them as being bad. Everybody okay with that? Good. So, latest developments in information. Why are we interested in that for? Why are we interested in AI or the internet or these new technologies, all to do with information? Why are we interested?
It's Brendan, one of the foundational messages of the Midnight Cry, which causes,
That
the
can't be
rising.
an answer to say it's part of the Midnight Cry, because my question is.
No.
I'll carry on then. Sorry if I interrupted you.
Yeah. So, well, it causes America to defeat itself and Russia to fall and rise over the past, winning the minor battles.
Let's not go with America or Russia. Give me a more generic understanding of why we're interested in the latest developments of information.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Is it, can we add the institutions that develop these AIs?
So give me the name of one institution that develops these information technologies. Give me an example of an institution.
Software and technology.
So the reason I asked that, maybe I didn't fully understand the study we had earlier in the week, but I thought it's not institutions that actually promulgate or develop these, it's private companies. And part of the discussion we were having is whether institutions should be doing it or being left to private companies. So that's how I understand that. Maybe we see it differently, or maybe I didn't understand clearly. But I don't think an institution is a private company.
I follow you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, great. Anyone else?
Isn't World War III?
We'll go with Catherine first, and then Greg.
Okay. I see the whole great controversy as being a war of narratives or war of words, and so it fits that we would be interested in information war or information technologies, because basically it gets more power to these things.
Okay, so are you okay, instead of me using the word words, of ideas?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, so this is the war of ideas or ideology. So I got
Yes.
that bit, and then you added another bit.
Well, if we're talking about the development of technologies that enhance that, I guess.
Okay, I'll go with that then. So it's the war, it's to do with the war of ideas and It's about development. We actually have it here. Greg.
Oh, I just said that World War III is an information war.
Okay, so I don't want to do that because I don't think it actually answers the question, because I don't know what World War III is. And if it's a war of information, it ends up becoming a circular argument if we frame our conversation that way. So I want us to go to more fundamental reasons. And I think this is a good one, that the whole great controversy is a war of ideology or ideas. And the concept of development is that as that war of ideas progresses, both parties, however they go about doing it, use the latest, we'll say the latest weapon or the latest technology. And that's why we're interested in this. We're interested in it for, we'll say selfish ideas, because the movement wants to use the latest information technology so that it can do its thing. But it's also interested in it because if we want to understand how the war of ideas works, we need to understand what the latest weapons that they're using are. Does anybody want to comment on that one?
Me, Josephine. Yes, I was going to say we have a message and we are interested in the technology, how to reach across the world, our members, prepare them, you know, information. During the COVID, we had technology and we were able to continue giving out our message. But if we didn't, then we'd be stuck.
Okay, anyone else? Middle East. Why are we interested in the Middle East?
Oh, Elder Parminder, it's Ray.
Oh, Ray?
On the war of ideas and developments, is that sort of to do with our like improving our own media literacy as well and understanding how these ideas are put out there and how to navigate that?
Explain a little bit more, because I'm inclined to say yes.
So I'm not sure if it was like actually presented in studies, but I know there was a online, I think the YouTube channel is called Crash Course, that was recommended to me a while ago about media literacy and navigating news and things online.
I want to stop you. Can you try to keep it simple so at least I can understand, if everyone else may understand what you mean? Tell me what it's to do with this subject and the point that you want us to understand.
Sifting out fake news from real news and understanding what's truth and what's rubbish.
Okay, so this it's not just a latest development in information, it's how to understand information. Or you've used the word sifting. It's the term that we use often. We need to understand information, understand what is truth and error. And you've said fake news and true news. So it's basically to understand that in this war of ideas, people are going to use information or techniques of information sharing that will deliberately try to obscure the truth. And we need to become familiar with that. So it's not just the tech bit of it. It's not just going on to ChatGPT or Google or understanding how Zoom works. It's also understanding how we're all manipulated by the words that people use. So we need to become much more intelligent about that. Is that a fair summary of what you've said?
Yes.
Excellent. The Middle East. I can't pronounce his name. N-A-G, Nagad. Natakarima. I'm sorry, I haven't pronounced your name properly. Natakarima. You mentioned about Islam bringing the kings together, and I said I didn't think it was that. Oh, that was Tony?
Yes, Elder Parminder is me.
Oh, sorry. We'll go with Anthony. So we're in the Middle East. Tell me what the Middle East is why we're interested in the Middle East.
Is it because of spheres of influence and proxy war?
We could do that with a number of places if we said that.
Islam.
Let Anthony do it.
Islam.
Antonio, I'm sorry. Antonio, sorry. Tell me about the Middle East.
Islam in Bible prophecy.
Okay, I'm gonna need a little bit more than that.
Okay, it's just a war between the king of the north and the king of the south, and them using the Middle East countries in order to for their spheres of influence, for proxy war.
So I've got radical Islam in prophecy. I've got that one. What else?
King of the south and king of the north, they're using the Middle East for proxy wars in order for them to have influence in areas that they want to have influence in.
Okay, I've got King North, King of the South, proxy war. Anything else?
That's all for me, Elder Parminder.
Okay, Molly.
Revelation 9.
I don't know what that means.
It's the third wall. Bible prophecy.
Tell me what that means.
I mean, Islam is prophesy is the third wall of Revelation 9, isn't it?
And what does that mean? Islam is the third woe in Bible prophecy. What does that? I don't know what that means.
I think with they'll cause harm. They'll cause harm to God's people through information and.
1 second. So the third woe is going to cause harm to God's people.
Yeah, Islam will cause harm to God's people and also with their doctrines and that.
Okay, thank you. So, Elder Terry, why are we interested in the Middle East? Do you agree with radical Islam in prophecy? We go with that one. King of the North, King of the South, proxy war. Do you agree with that one? Third woe. Right, what's the third woe?
Isn't it a distraction in international affairs that slows down the pace of others' agenda?
Okay, so if you put yourself on mute, Molly, for a second. So the third woe, you said a distraction to whatever people want to do. They're going to slow them down. So if we go back to the first woe and the second woe, we know that one of them is hurting, one of them is killing. Who are they hurting and killing, these woes? What's their purpose in life? Who are they meant to hurt? Are they meant to hurt God's people, who are good people, or something else? Anybody want to comment on that? Because if you know what their purpose originally was, you know what it was at the end. Marie?
They distract the papacy. So
papacy. We'll go with the papacy.
Helping.
So you use the word distract. I think the Bible talks about killing and hurting. Is that what you mean by distracting?
My memory is vague. Is it the first woe that's distraction?
It doesn't matter about the details. I just want to understand what you mean by distraction.
So every time they came to harm God's people, that's right. Every time the papacy would come to harm God's people, Islam would distract
Okay.
the armies of
So
Rome.
if we're all clear that the third woe is not to hurt God's people, hopefully we're all clear on that. Terry?
Yeah, it's a scourge on Rome. It distracts and pulls them away.
So what is a scourge? Anybody? Tell me what a scourge is. Have a quick look up, or Terry's going to give us the answer. Scourge.
Punishment.
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 Good. So the third woe is punishment. And punishment against whom? It's not God's people.
The infidel.
The infidel.
Those that are not
Persecutor.
1 second. So it's not the infidels. Antonio, you said what?
those that are not sealed.
Those who are not sealed. That may be correct, but I'm not sure who that is. Marie already gave us the answer, by the way. Catherine?
Oh, I said the persecutor who's persecuting God's people.
Okay, the persecutor. So
Yep.
I'm just going to, for shortness of time, say it's Rome. So it's Rome 1, Rome 2, Rome 3. It's always Rome, who are the persecutors themselves of God's people. So they're the ones who are going to be punished for doing something bad. And I know we don't talk about it much, but there's lots of intricacies in all of that. Because Rome punishing God's people, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Brendan, good thing or bad thing? Bad?
Bad.
It's a trick question because it depends. Is Babylon Rome?
Yes, it is.
Yes. And
yes,
is Babylon destroying God's people good or bad?
it depends.
Good.
Yeah,
Who told them to destroy God's people?
God.
God. So it's good.
Yeah.
So it's not that straightforward about Rome and its work, and then it receives punishment. So I just wanted to add that bit in without explaining it. So that's the third woe, punishing Rome. And who's Rome today? Who's going to answer?
Protestant
Who's
America.
Rome today? USA. We'll go with the USA. King of the North. Not the papacy. Hopefully we understand that. Don't know about the future, but today it's not papacy. One more. It's what's currently going on there now. Josephine?
Is it the
Oh, we'll go with Josephine first.
See that question again? I'm confused.
I want another subject. Why are we interested in the Middle East? I'll let Graham speak.
Yes.
I was going to say it was the understanding of Israel in Bible prophecy by
Good.
apostate Protestantism.
So this is dispensationalism. Hope that's correct spelling. So dispensationalism, this is an understanding of Israel, the nation of Israel, in Bible prophecy. And they call it dispensationalism. That's, I think, the Protestant term for all of this understanding, and how it's led people to come to do very strange things. So when people keep on looking at America and criticizing any president, the current one and the previous one and the one before, when it comes to Middle East policy, the reason why America keeps on dropping the ball on this subject when it never does when it comes to Europe. And we think of Europe, we think of NATO. It doesn't drop the ball on that because it hasn't got a prophetic component to its foreign policy in Europe. It's all about money and protectionism, self-preservation. When it comes to the Middle East, it's a different dynamic. And that's why we're interested in the Middle East for these reasons. So we'll skip ahead. Economy. Why are we interested in the economy?
Revelation 13. Revelation 13.
I don't know what that means, Revelation 13.
No buying, no selling.
Okay, we're interested in it because of no buying or selling. Anyone else?
An inflationary economy disproportionately affects women.
So the economy, we're going to use the same argument here. The poor, women, and children. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So that's why we're interested in the economy, because it affects poor, women and children, and equality. Why are Eurasia interested in the economy?
So they can predict where. Is it so where people can predict where they should invest?
Yes. So they're interested in the economy because not only so that people can predict where to invest their money, they're also interested in it because if there is something going wrong in one part of the world, say we'll say poor countries or people whose GDP isn't very good, or whatever metric you want to use, it ends up affecting wealthier countries. So part of what we will discuss that in a moment as we end. China. Why are they interested in China? No, why are we interested in China? Sorry. Terry, why are we interested in China?
Because its economy as well. That's the reason they've put it in there. Its economy is so large that it has one on its own.
Why are we interested in China? Why do you and I care about China? You and I individually, as a movement. Why do we care about China?
Because of its war with the United States.
So we care about China because of its war with the United States. Lots of countries are going to war with the United States. Why are we worried about the Chinese war?
Because of the size of it.
Okay, so we're worried about China because of the size of it.
The impact on the world because of the economy that war has.
So because these two superpowers are going to war with each other, it's going to affect the world economy. So we had something about the USA, Bible prophecy, doing something bad. And it's doing something bad internally and externally. We didn't discuss that. When it comes to China, when we talk, you've told us that it's to do with because they're so big. I'm just going to put big. So
and development information and its effect on the climate. It's got big fingers in all of those pies.
Did everybody hear that?
No.
Okay, so I want to ask. No. Okay, so I didn't hear what you said. I don't want to repeat what you said. You said it well in your own words.
China has its fingers in all of those pies. It is a major player with climate change, its relationship with the USA, the way it is also a rogue nation. It has its impact on information, interaction with them, all of the above.
Okay, so I've summarized all of that to say that it's big. But I also want to give another suggestion. The reason why we're interested in China is because what we can do, I'm not going to say which one it is. I'm going to stick them together. We can compare and contrast, but it's mostly comparing China with whom? Who is China exactly the same as?
Russia.
Sure.
Russia? Who said Russia? Brendan?
Yes.
Someone else?
Said
So King of the
Italy.
South.
Okay, Molly?
King of the South.
Russia? Catherine?
Italy.
Who'd you
In
say?
terms Italy, I said Italy, and the reason I said Italy is because Germany had a friend, it was an ally back in World War II, it was Italy, and Russia's best friend is China.
Okay, so I'm going to collapse all of that to say Russia.
Yes, okay. I would have said its connection with Russia is the reason we're interested. Because it's Russia's best friend.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I had the
Yes.
same idea with
Russia.
Catherine.
Okay,
Is
everyone's
it,
going for Russia.
Could I please make a suggestion?
Everyone's gone for Russia. Just give me the name. Why are we interested in them when we're talking about compare and contrast?
I was going to say America.
Okay, so we'll go with that. You don't have to explain why. Terry?
Both.
Okay, so Terry's going to say America as well. I want to go for the USA. What you end up finding is that China, because it's a completely different setup, it's one's a democracy, one's I don't know what we want to call China. Communism doesn't quite do it justice, I think. But we'll just say it's communist. Even though their setup is completely different, you actually see that China and United States are locked together in their behavior, their worldview, and what they're doing. And what happens is that if we say China is the opposite of America, that's one story, which is the one that most people picked up on, which is that they're the same as Russia, if you like. They're the opponent or the enemy of the United States. But I think what's equally important, or for me, more interesting, is that China is actually the same as the United States. And what you can see is you can set up a totally different economy, which means a totally different style of government, and you end up getting to the same place. It ends up doing exactly the same thing for the same reason and using all the same tools. And they have their own internal warfare, but it's so stifled there that we don't have that visibility, don't have the Democrats and the Republicans, but they have their equivalent of it, even though it's really muted. So I think what's so interesting about China is that they're big and they therefore have a shape or a say in what's going on, but they're also identical to the United States. And when you look at the United States and you can't see things, what do we normally do? What's our methodology? You go to another example to see exactly the same thing, but when you look through it through a different lens, it becomes clearer. So I want to suggest that's why China is so interesting to us. It's all of these reasons that they're big and they have their fingers in all of these issues and they affect geopolitics across the world. But it's also because they end up looking and behaving the same way as the United States.
Trump wants to model himself after Xi, not after Putin.
So did everybody hear that?
Yes.
Good.
No,
And the
no.
last one, someone said no. Catherine, can you repeat what Terry said
She
briefly?
said Trump wants to model himself after Xi and not Putin.
Good. Because Putin is a weak person in a too-big country from an American perspective, and China is someone to emulate, as is their leader. Does that help, Marie?
Yes, thanks.
Great. Europe. Why are we interested in Europe?
Can I just ask a clarifying question with that last point, please? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
So to clarify, we're interested in China so we can compare and contrast so we can better understand America. Is that the main point?
It's the second point. I don't want to say it's the main
The
one.
second point. Yeah, second point. Okay. So we can better break down the USA so we get a better, clearer understanding when we don't have very good visibility.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Europe. Why are we interested in Europe?
So because we're in a global world now, and that's where we see, I don't know, the United Nations, and I don't know, I feel like Europe is a really important power in the world today that affects us.
Okay. So the United Nations is American based. It's not in Europe.
Yeah, it is.
Just because they're big. We're interested in Europe because they're big. Is that what you said?
I'm sure it's more than that. I probably should have kept it quiet until I had a better idea of what I was going to say. It is
it's good to speak.
prophetic. It is prophetic because we saw war in the Western Front starting from earlier, like 2003, and Elder Tess had identified that Europe was that Western part of the world that was coming under attack.
Okay, so you're going to go through an application of the First and Second World Wars.
Yes, yes, that's right.
That's why we're interested. Okay.
Yes.
Anyone
yes.
else? Brody.
Connected with Russia, I suppose its connection with the fall of the King of the South.
So Brody has said it's about proxy, King of the North, King of the South, same argument that was used here. So we're interested in Europe for that reason. Anyone else?
Seventh kingdom of the Bible prophecy.
The seventh kingdom of Bible prophecy. Okay. I don't know what that is. What's the seventh kingdom of Bible prophecy?
It's the United Nations, isn't it? But it's...
So the United Nations are in America, not in Europe.
Yeah, but the countries are in Europe.
No, the countries are all around the world. There's more countries all around the world than there are in Europe. Okay, how about America is the new world and Europe is the old world? That's Standard Adventist teaching. And that's connected to the idea that Europe is big economically, but it's also about the connection between these two entities, the new world and the old world. So we just said, why are we interested in China?
Because it's big.
Because that was one reason, but because we can compare and contrast.
Yeah, okay.
And
So
what's the new world and the old world? What's that methodology or ideology there?
yeah, that's a compare and contrast as well.
Compare and contrast.
It's compare and contrast. He says whatever happened in the old world is going to happen in the new. Catholicism and Protestantism. Sorry?
Revelation 13.
It's Revelation 13, the first beast and the second beast. So that's why we're interested in Europe. What I found interested in when I ask for why we're interested in some of these things, not all of us and not on every single topic, but it happened often enough, and I don't know if you realized that the arguments we were giving were the actual Euro-Asia arguments. They're big. There's an economy problem. All of that is their arguments. They're not prophetic arguments. So when I asked what are our reasons, I want us just to realize that it's really easy to drift. And we should really understand why we're interested in these subjects and why Eurasia are interested in this subject. And some of the reasons we give are not even prophetic ones. They may be emotional ones. They may be ones that we think are prophetic, but they end up being moral. And we've struggled with this concept in our movement for a long time. The difference between morality and prophecy, whether or not they're the same or not the same. So I've run out of time now. I want to apologize because I was going to speak about the war in Ukraine, but I ended up not speaking about it, even though today's a special day, as you all know. But what I wanted us to see is that this organization, that Eurasia, that is laser focused on understanding one subject. What are they trying to understand? So it's a big question, so you won't know what I'm referring to. They're trying to understand and analyze. They called it geopolitics. So Terry has said they're trying to understand relationships. Is that correct? Relationships. I'm going to call it patriarchy. That's probably wrong. So they're trying to understand and analyze patriarchy. And what's this movement's objective or purpose? I'm going to say it's the same. So this is Eurasia, and this is us. And the reason why we're so closely aligned is because they need to analyze and understand how the patriarchal system works. And that's what we do. And that's why it looks like they and us are the same things. In fact, we can go into business with them and we'd all do really well together because we all see things the same way. It's because it's patriarchy, the way the world runs, we see it being important, and so do they. Obviously, our end goals are different because we want to analyze this and see where it's going, and they want to analyze this and see how much money they want to make or how much money they can make. But I also want us to see that we want everything to look good, don't we? We want what we would call equality. That's what good would be. Do you think Eurasia want equality? You think they would like that? They would like that as well. Why would they like that, bro? Brody said yes, in case you didn't hear. Why would they want equality?
Because of their personal world. Because they're made up of people that want good for.
So Brody says they want equality because they're nice people. Terry?
Because it would work, like the economy.
1 second. Terry said because it works. The world currently works. It already works. So why would they want like equality? So Terry says it's not working very well. So Wall Street is almost at its highest S&P 500 than it's ever been. It works pretty well.
Is that your only parameter for the world working now?
So we're not asking my parameter, we're asking Eurasia's parameter. So the question I asked was, are they interested in the same goal as we are, equality? And I think people said yes. I would argue the reason that they're interested in it is because equality produces or promotes prosperity. And prosperity is on a number of different metrics, but they all gravitate to a higher standard of living. And what's been well researched when it comes to migrants, immigrants, when you have an influx of people from different countries come to any country, United States is an example, the country actually prospers, even though there may be some teething problems, and even though people think that their jobs are being stolen, etc. So the reason they would be interested in equality is because everybody benefits from that, and people benefit for different reasons. And we too would be interested in people benefiting economically, but we have other reasons that we're really interested in about equality, about fairness, and how people, the quality of life of their lives that they have. So I want to suggest the reason why this money-making business is interested in the world and looks at the world exactly the same way we do is because they want to understand how patriarchy works as we do. But what they would also like to do, and I don't think that they had the capability of doing that, and I don't think we do either, which is to influence geopolitics. But what they would really like is a world based upon equality or fairness or the rule of law, because it's the best way to make heaps of money. And we're interested in it because our focus, we might say prosperity, we may say good standard of living. We may not emphasize the money bit to that. We may emphasize respect and common decency, the way we treat one another. But they end up aligning really well with one another. So I want us just to see that, because the Bible talks about money as being the root of all evil. And if we were really all serious about making as much money as we wanted, as we possibly could, we would actually all promote equality. And it's not the truth that survival of the fittest, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, actually help people, because the rich could get a lot richer if they actually made the poorer wealthier. And that's been proven over and over again. It's bad science, and it's actually a satanic principle. So I just wanted to see that in our conversation today. I've run out of time. Does anybody want to comment? Otherwise, I'm going to close. I'm not allowed to ask you to comment. So we're going to close with prayer. Dear Lord, Holy God, I want to thank you for helping me to have a clearer picture of what it is to desire and promote equality. What I really desire for myself and how I want to be treated, and what I want for my fellow human beings. As we compare and we contrast ourselves with this secular agency, it seems clearer to me today than it did yesterday that an understanding of the weakness, the frailty, the stupidity of the patriarchal system, the system that you've been trying to show us is just bad. That it's taken us so long to realize that if we really desired equality, if the world really desired equality, the world would be a better place, which is what everybody wants, whatever our reason for desiring that. Whether it's health, whether it's respect for ourselves and for one another, whether it's economic security, whatever metric we want to analyze between right and wrong, we realize that the solution is always equality. I find that comforting, and I want to thank you for bringing this understanding clearer to me and hopefully to each of us. In Jesus' name, amen.